Hello, my name is Brian Allen. I'm a freelance illustrator. I wanted to show you some of the new brushes for Manga Studio that I'm peddling. I thought the best way to do that would be to put together a video of me drawing something start to finish from the sketch, inks, color, using those brushes. I've received a lot of feedback from people saying that they want to hear more about my process. So I'm going to try to talk about that where I can. If you have any questions, please feel free to write them in the comments and I'd be happy to reply. If you want to purchase these brushes, they're available at my website, www.flylanddesigns.com. Alright, let's get started. So what I want to draw today is a tiki guy, because I've been into those for a little while now. And let's see, let's start a new document here. And what I like to do always is have a second window opened up. And you can just do that by going to Window, Canvas, New Window. And we're going to make it a lot smaller and flipped, so that whatever I'm drawing here is showing over here, but completely flipped. And this will allow me to, like, in real time, get an idea of any mistakes that I'm making. And also, it's really helpful to see the image you're working on at a really small size, because you get the whole picture, which is very helpful. What I'm doing is working on a layer that's set to the magenta color, and I like to just do a very rough sketch. I like this this brush called Construction that I had made. That's basically just a really light pencil brush, and I use this just to sort of quickly sketch out the shapes. This part's going to be kind of weird because you probably have no idea what I'm drawing, and that's alright because I don't really have any idea either. This is the part where you can be like really loose and experiment a lot, because none of this is going to be shown in the final art. I'm just basically going to lower the opacity of this and then go back over it again in the next stage. I've tried all kinds of different drawing programs, and Manga Studio or Manga Studio, I don't know which one it is. Someone can correct me in the comments, I'm sure. Basically, I've tried them all. I've tried Sketchbook Pro, which has some awesome drawing tools and pencils and things, but I could never really work in it for long because the interface I found was just too limiting. And Photoshop, obviously, Photoshop is great. I still use it every day, but I just find the pencil tools, especially the inking tools, way more responsive in Manga Studio, and it just feels the closest to real drawing on paper that I've come across. I've used Painter too, but it's been a long time. I think the last Painter I used was 10, so I should probably give that one another look, because God, man, they're probably on 18 by now? I don't know. Alright, hopefully you can kind of see what I'm going for, because I'm starting to figure it out. So some of these other early sketch brushes I have this sketch brush, which is very nice. It's got like crazy personality in it. This is kind of a nice brush to get more like excited lines and shapes. Yeah, so I flip the drawing a lot. sometimes, and this is kind of weird, I end up liking the flipped drawing a lot better than the one I was working on. Not sure what that says about the way I draw. It must be lopsided or something. Alright, so this sketch I think is come far enough. Yeah, I want to do some smoke. And these are still just squiggles, but this stage actually for me is really important. And if I don't get this right, I end up having to go back and correct and change a lot of stuff. So try to get this working as well as I can before I really start drawing. He's gonna have these big gauges in his ears, I think. Alright, and if things aren't looking right, sometimes I'll move things around. I also like to usually draw an arrow for what direction the light's coming from, because I will forget very quick. Okay, so now what I'll do, I take this sketch, lower the opacity a heck of a lot, and start on a new layer that's usually set for like a blue color up here. So everything I draw in black is going to be blue. Okay, and the pencils I use for this stage are typically I use this brush or pencil brush almost exclusively, this rough pencil, which I really like. I was messing with, I've tried like just so many pencils, too many pencils, and for some reason I could not find one that just fit, that just mimicked the way I draw on paper, until I made this brush, and I love it. Now, I don't know if that means it's going to be perfect for you too. I have a feeling that probably just everybody has their own, you know, you got to try them all until you find one that just fits, you know. I was looking for like a really clever metaphor, but I didn't come up with anything, so sorry about that. I draw pictures for a living, so give me, you know, cut me some slack, please. There's also this one, the 2B and the HB are for like much darker and thicker lines. I usually use those when I'm more confident about what I'm drawing and less sketchy. But right now, I'm still sketching. I started off with the pencils really just trying exclusively to use the ones that came with Manga Studio, and I just kept finding like the rough pencil was good, but usually only at a certain resolution. And I jump between different size documents all the time, because sometimes I'm drawing comic book pages, sometimes I'm drawing, you know, giant t-shirts, sometimes it's graphics for trucks. So sometimes the pencil would work great, and then I would be working on a different size document, and it would have way too much tooth in the texture, and I just couldn't use it. So I did find that what I've set up here worked better for that. Also, I like something that sort of mimics the way I ink. So these pencils have a little bit of, I guess, expression in them, or personality. I don't know. With the pencils that come with Manga Studio, they don't have a lot of size variation to them. You know, I'll take the opportunity here also to answer some questions that I get a lot. People ask me all the time what kind of hardware I use. I'm using right now the Wacom or Wake. I was raised by saying Wacom, so I'm gonna just continue saying Wacom, even though I know that's not right. Sometimes you'll catch, if you call Wacom support, or Wacom support. Sometimes they say Wacom, so they know it in their hearts that that's what it is. But anyway, I'm using a Wacom 24 HD Cintiq, which is fantastic. It's an investment for sure, but if you do this for your living, it's absolutely worth the investment. Absolutely. Because if you're using an Intuos right now, I guarantee just switching to this will just save you so much time. It just makes your strokes, at least for me, it made my strokes so much more efficient, and it was just so much more enjoyable too. Because it just felt, to me, just felt more like drawing. But that's just me. I know some incredible artists who just use the Intuos tablet exclusively, so, and they can draw circles around me, so it's just a tool. Alright, so what else am I using? So I'm using Manga Studio 5. You probably figured that out. I talk about that all the time. A lot of people ask if I work digitally 100%, and it really just depends on the project that I'm working on. I would say the majority of the time I do work digitally, from sketches to inks to colors, 100%, and that's mostly just because of time restraints. When I'm working on my own personal projects and I have a lot more time, and maybe there aren't going to be client revisions and stuff, I'll usually sketch on paper and scan it in. Sometimes I'll ink on paper too. There's something just enjoyable about that. Work in front of the TV. For that, I typically like to use brush pens. There's an awesome brush pen by Pentel. It's like the pocket brush pen, I think it's called. If you go to the frequently asked questions section on my website, I have a section with all those tools and links to where you can get them. But that thing is awesome. To me, it feels exactly like inking with a sable hair brush, but you don't have to, you don't have to dip the pen, and you can refill it, and it's pretty cheap actually. Really, it ends up being cheaper than buying bottles of ink. And some people have asked, you see me moving this drawing around a lot, with the hand tool. Even though this screen is huge, I kind of, for some reason, have just gotten used to drawing right in the center of the screen. I think I don't know if it's more accurate there, or if that's just a weird habit. So when I'm moving that thing around, it's because I'm just kind of keeping the area I'm working on in the center of the screen. Actually, I want his teeth to be huge. I have a mirror that I look at when I'm drawing faces, and I think it's funny because I got my bottom row of teeth are these big crooked. It's a crooked mess down there. So it's kind of funny. If you look at a lot of my characters, they usually have really a pretty nasty bottom row of teeth. And that's probably no accident. That's just my, it's, you draw what you know. That's a tip I highly recommend. If you've got room on your desk, just get one of those. It's basically just a bathroom mirror from Walmart. So it has that, it's I guess like a makeup mirror or something. And it's on a stand, and it's got magnification on it. And I just have that on my desk, so it doesn't even need to be near me, and I can kind of see details from a good distance away. And it really helps because I can make faces into it and kind of see the way things are laid out. And then usually I end up totally ignoring that and drawing what I want anyway, and then it looks messed up and I gotta fix it. But it's a thought that counts. Alright, and let me show you some of my other brushes here. This wet pencil here is cool. I mean, if you zoom in on this, you can kind of see the tooth of this. The wet pencil has no tooth whatsoever, and I use this sometimes when I'm drawing shapes and decorations and things like that. It's just got a nice hard edge, but also just a little bit of personality to it. Often, so when I'm drawing, I often switch back between these pencils and then like my shading brushes. And I'll show you what I do. I've got a bunch in here. It's like some of that. This is like a rough texture thing. And then here, and this is like a marker. I use this marker a lot. So rather than sitting there changing the size of the brush constantly to a giant brush so I can fill in areas, I just have these shading brushes, which are already pretty large, and I have a keyboard shortcut so I can just quickly switch between them back and forth, and it really helps speed things up. I love and I hate drawing smoke. It's very easy to get tripped up in it. Still trying to figure it out. Oh yeah. So typically by now I would have turned off. We could turn off this guy, that purple underneath. Cool. All right. So from this stage, then sometimes I will take this straight to ink, but for the purpose of this video, what we're going to do is turn this blue off. Turn the blue opacity down, and then we're going to go over it one more time with black, and really clean things up. And for this, I will pretty much always use this rough pencil here because it's sharp, but it's still got a little bit of texture too, so we can it's a little forgiving, you know. And at this point, I'm trying to not exactly trace, but just expand upon what I have. I also use, so in addition to these brushes that I'm showing you, I also use a lot of brushes that I purchased from Ray Friendon. You're probably already familiar with his brushes. If you don't have them, go get them. I think they're pretty cheap. They're fantastic. They really add a lot to the program in general. They're really the brushes that should have come with the program, in my opinion. So go check those out. What other? And then I do use, there are a couple brushes that come with the program that I do still use. But other than that, I use a lot of the brushes that actually were from Manga Studio 4, and I just imported them into this program. And even though they're not exactly, they don't work exactly the same as they did in 4, I think they're more, they're at least, you know, I want to say more responsive. I don't know if that's right. I would probably, the best way to say it is that they more accurately capture the way I draw. You know, everybody draws very differently, so those brushes just fit me better. And I was actually a little disappointed when number 5 came out, because I felt like it was a tiny step backward in that area. Everything else was a huge leap forward. So I was really glad when I found out that you can import the brushes. For some reason, I always flip it when I'm drawing the other pupil, because if I don't, I screw it up every single time. So that's nice. That's one reason when I said earlier that I work digitally a lot, even though I may not exactly prefer it. It just, tricks like that just speed things up just enormously. And I'm a freelancer full time, and you know, like anything else, any other job, time is money. And I got a wife and 2 kids, and those are very, very expensive hobbies. Very expensive in time too, actually. I'm probably gonna cut that part out. Now switch to my shading brush here. You know, hey, I should take a second here as well while I'm drawing, just to thank everybody who has subscribed to my channel. When I started posting these videos, I had no idea what a great response they would get. Like, I'm just really humbled by it, and I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty cool. It feels pretty good to see all the subscriptions and the people commenting and liking the videos. And I do want to apologize in advance if you leave a comment and it takes me a while to get back to you. You know, my apologies there. It's not that I don't appreciate it. There's so many, for everybody, there's so many other areas that you have to, you know, responding to emails and Facebook comments and messages and text messages and stuff. It's very easy for those YouTube messages to get swept under the rug, I guess, or not noticed. So I apologize, but I do get to all of them eventually. So please sit tight. And I should say too, for anyone looking, I do get a lot of questions about like technical things from Manga Studio or about the program. If you go to Manga Studio's YouTube channel, they've got a ton of really good tutorials. If you're just opening the program up for the first time, you should just go straight there and just watch every one of those videos, because there are so many tools in there that are really not seen anywhere else, that you'll look at it and you'll be like, what the heck is this? And then you might not ever use it, and you'd be missing out. So check that out. I usually rotate the screen around when I'm drawing circles like this, because otherwise they become a mess real quick. Let's see, what are some other questions I get asked a lot? A lot of people ask me if I went to art, or where I went to art school, or if I did go to art school. I did not. I went to Penn State, got a bachelor's degree there in marketing and advertising, and but I had been drawing really all my life, and I took a lot of art classes at Penn State, and sort of other side things along with that. And I kind of knew, it seems silly now, but I knew during that education that advertising was not what I wanted to do. But I chose that, and I stuck with it, because at the time I just thought that was the safe path, that was the way. You know, you can't make I thought you couldn't make a living just drawing. You have to find something sensible that you can apply it to, and choose that. But anyway, when I got out of school, I didn't really pursue advertising at all. It's really the type of career where you would have to move to a bigger city, and I just wasn't interested in that, and ended up, well, I'm not going to get into the whole story, but I'm doing very well now just drawing the kind of stuff that I used to draw, and sort of wish that I had skipped that whole stage at the beginning and just stuck with this, because I probably would have been a lot better, but what are you gonna do? So about art school, because I get a ton of questions. That's probably the most common question about, should I go to art school? Where should I go to art school? How can I afford art school is another one. I try to be careful when giving advice like that, because I know for as many of my favorite artists that I know that did go to art school, there's probably another batch, same number, that did not. And since I did not go to art school, I don't feel good vouching for it or vouching against it. But what I would say though is you really want to be certain before you go to art school, because the expense is just incredible. And there are just some fantastic resources out there for taking art classes online. Way more, to give you an idea, when I graduated in 2004. And obviously the internet was around, of course, but I'm not even sure if was YouTube out? I guess YouTube was out, but it was really just a place to go to watch like South Park episodes illegally. Now the amount of free or almost free resources out there is just incredible. But in addition to that, there are just fantastic online schools. I'll name a couple. I've taken a few of the classes, and they're fantastic. There's one you've probably heard of called Schoolism. I took a class there, which was fantastic. There's a school, and the name escapes me, but it's by this children's book artist named Will Terry, and you should also check out his work and his YouTube channel, because his advice on just being a freelancer and what that means, and just advice about the industry in general, has been so helpful to me. And he does not mince words. He comes right out and gives you extremely specific information. Unlike me, I guess, here. I'm dancing around these questions, but check him out. Let's see, what else? There's a website called Skillshare, which also has some really great and incredibly cheap online tools, online classes. There is also the Gnomon, Gnomon, I believe, Gnomon Workshop. Another series of like incredible classes. They're a little more expensive, but they're worth it. I took one. They gave you like a DVD. It was like a QuickTime DVD, and unfortunately it doesn't work. I can't get it to work anywhere now. But I'm sure by now they've probably switched over to a streaming service. This was a long time ago. I took one on inking by Joe Weems, and then one on comic book coloring by Steve Furshow. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. those DVDs were just so incredible. I watched them so many times, and really just those DVDs and the classes I just mentioned is where I really learned most of what I know. That could be a bad thing. I don't know. So far, it's working out okay. How are those teeth? I'm going to come back to those teeth because I screwed them up. So, with art school, you really got to sit down and you have to do a really, really detailed cost-benefit analysis, because I feel like a lot of kids are sold on art school in a way that's perhaps not accurate, and then they're saddled with just an incredible debt, and either they drop out early or they end up with a skill that they're in a market that's so competitive anyway that they they're competing with freelancers, I guess. So again, though, I'm not vouching for or against art school. I don't think I'm qualified to do that. I'm just telling you what I did, and just be smart about it. However, I often feel like sometimes I missed out on some of the basic fundamental skills of drawing, and there was a big learning curve for years, really, trying to catch up with that, and I'm still working on it. The other thing I missed out on is just the networks and connections you get at art school. You meet professors, you meet other students who 10 years later are now art directors at companies, and if you keep in touch with them, they're going to be hiring you for work. I missed out on all of that. If you decide not to go to art school, you still have to replace that with something. So you almost have to create your own art school, and that's fairly easy to do using all the resources out there, but you do have to be prepared to spend some money, or maybe a lot of money. There's a great article out there, I'll try to find the link, where basically the artist is talking about, he recommends that you don't go to art school, and instead you take about $20,000 and spend it on this big list of books that he has, a big list of digital online courses, and even though $20,000 may seem like a lot of money, compared to a full term at art school, that's nothing. I mean, you'll spend $20,000 just on materials and books very easily. You also will need to maybe even work twice as hard, because you are going to be your own instructor, you're going to be your own counselor, you're not going to have the discipline of, be at class at this time. So you basically, I guess the point I'm trying to make is that if you do choose not to go to art school, you really have to make sure that you become your own art school. You replace it with something. It's not enough just to read a couple books or do a couple online tutorials. You have to make time for it, and you have to be very disciplined, and you have to spend some money. Another question I get a lot is just about my brush settings, and I will make a video soon about that. But let me just say, you want to be careful sort of hunting down the ideal brush settings. And believe me, I spent a lot of time, or how about I say I wasted a lot of time searching for this myself. Because there's no perfect setting. There's so many artists I know they use different brushes, they use different settings, they use different tools. Myself, I will, I'll go for a while using the same brush, and then I will one day wake up and I can't draw a damn thing. And then I switch to a different brush, and I'm like, oh, hey, this one feels better. And then I use that one for a while, and then I switch and use another one. Same with the settings, too. You really just want to grab the tools that come with the program and just practice and practice and practice. Sometimes if you spend, and this is what I did, this was the trap I got into. You spend way too much time trying to find like the perfect setup, when really I just wasn't ready to begin. I hadn't mastered the tools, the basic tools. So what would happen was I would start drawing and things were not coming out. And then I would blame it on the settings and think, ah, man, if I could just get these right, I could be better. So now I am far, far away from mastering anything. But I think now I have a better appreciation that if there's a problem, the problem is usually me. And maybe I need to just take a break and warm up a little bit. Or, go hunt down some reference. Which, that's a good lead in. I get a lot of questions about, should I use reference? Do you use a lot of reference? Or me, I guess. And I use a lot of reference. Right now, I've got some pictures of tiki guys up. I have a picture of a face up on another screen you can't see. Now, the tiki guy I'm drawing, it doesn't look anything like this tiki guy. It's just a bunch of real tiki heads that I found on Google. And you find like different areas that you like, and you just kind of piece them together. For me, I hope I'm not too dependent on reference, but I feel like there's this strange hesitation about reference, as if it's like cheating or something. I'm using this sketch brush right here, which is this is a really handy tool to use for like really expressive shapes and lines, and that's what this smoke is going to look like. Just doing wide, quick arcs. Let's see, I'll elaborate a little bit on hardware again, because I do get a lot of those questions. I use a iMac 27 HD. It's about, I'm sorry, not 27 HD. It's just iMac 27 inch. And it's 4 years old, I think. And I love this thing. I won't, please don't get into Mac versus PC war. Let's be civil. But I do love it. It is just insanely fast and powerful, like no matter what I throw at it, which is nice because I think I mentioned earlier, a lot of times I work on some really huge documents. Some of the files I use can be like 2 gigs, 2 gig Photoshop files, and people often ask me what size I use. That totally depends on the project, obviously, but when I'm inking, I typically like to work at 600 dpi. It may just be in my head, but I feel like the inks are more accurate when you work at that resolution. I had noticed a pattern that a lot of the artists I admired, they were working at that resolution. When I am sketching and penciling, I always work at 300 dpi. And that's mainly because it speeds things up. Also, when I'm coloring, I will work at 300 dpi, not 600 dpi. Kind of for the same reasons, that at 600 dpi that would start to slow things down too much, and it's really not needed at that point. Painting it at 600 dpi, like with a giant soft brush, would mean your brush would just be ridiculously huge. Alright, so I'm just going to go around, clean things up. Normally I would not spend this much time cleaning up a pencil drawing, because in this case I'm just going to ink right over it, but I wanted to use this as an example. So we're going to make a nice and pretty pencil drawing. Pretty is probably not the right word for this dude. This is kind of the stage 2 where I take a little closer look at the lighting and make sure that my shadows are all in the right place. They're typically not, so better fix that up. It's good to really have that nailed down before you start inking, because for me, with inking, I really like to make that a stage where I'm not thinking. That's the stage where I usually put on a movie or a show or something, or a podcast. I listen to podcasts a lot. That's actually a good tip. If you're looking just for some general, not general, let me take that back. If you're looking for some specific freelance info and sort of insider's tips, check out Adventures in Design. You probably already heard of it, but I think they've got like over 200 episodes, and it's so awesome. It's a funny show. It's entertaining. They interview a ton of really talented artists, but they give you like really specific and helpful information. And I just found that by listening to it, you get a much better, clearer picture of what's really going on out there. There are some things too where like you might be really discouraged about something, and you feel like, oh man, why is this happening to me? And you realize that it's happening to everybody. So it's really just helpful. There was one called Illustration Party Time, which I listened to all their shows, but they're no longer making those. I liked those guys too. They were cool. That was helpful. Alright, thanks for sticking with me on this. I have another video on how we ink this guy. If you're interested in purchasing my brushes that I created for Manga Studio 5, just check out the link below the video, or visit www.flylanddesigns.com. Thanks a lot, guys.